There's a moment you've felt before. The air shifts, the room tilts against you. Someone fires a jab, an insult wrapped in poison. A sly accusation dressed as wit heads turn. Eyes lock on you waiting. Your chest tightens, your pulse spikes, and instinct screams, say something, defend yourself. Explain. That is the trap. That is the line between the harmless and the dangerous. Because the instant you defend yourself, you've already surrendered. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew what most men today cannot grasp. The man who explains himself kneels. Before his accuser, he accepts their frame, he admits. They hold the power to judge him. The strong man refuses. That stage, he lets the words hang in the air until the accuser drowns in the echo of their own venom. Let's break it down. 1. Why defending yourself is a trap. You think you're clearing your name. You think you're restoring truth. But truth doesn't rule power games. Perception does. And perception is defined by frames. The invisible rules of the social battlefield. The moment you say, "That's not true," let me explain. You've already stepped onto their ground. You've accepted their rules. You've allowed them to put you on trial. And no matter how well you argue, you lose. Because defense itself signals weakness. The guilty justify the weak protest. The powerful stay silent. 2. The predator's silence. Machiavelli's lesson is simple. He who explains submits. Think about it. When a lion is called dangerous, does it hold a press conference? Does it issue clarifications? No, it just stares. That silence is heavier than any denial. The apex predator doesn't plead. It doesn't convince. It doesn't beg for understanding. Its stillness alone reminds the world, I do not answer to you. There's a universal truth in power dynamics. The strong never waste breath justifying themselves. A predator doesn't explain its nature to prey. Your goal is not to be understood. Your goal is to be feared, respected, untouchable. The kind of presence that says more in silence than others can scream in words. 3. The social kill shot picture. This year at a business dinner, someone sneers. You always think you're the smartest person in the room. Most people would nervously laugh or rush to explain, no, that's not true, and in that instant, they've collapsed, they've accepted the frame. Surrendered status, the Machiavellian move? You pause, you look at them, no smile, no words, just stillness. Now the table begins to wonder, why didn't he answer? Did the insult bounce off him? Or does he know something we don't? The attacker shifts in their seat. They start looking insecure. That's the reversal. That's how you flip the frame without lifting a finger. 4. Mystery is power. Here's the truth. The more they understand you, the less they fear you every time you explain yourself. You strip away mystery, silence forces people to fill in the blanks. And humans almost always overestimate what they can't see. That's why the most powerful men in history, in politics, in business, in film, are rarely the loudest. Think of Michael Corleone in The Godfather. His enemies ranted, argued, explained. He sat in silence, waiting. And when he moved, the room belonged to him. 5. The psychological torture of silence. Refuse to defend yourself. And watch what happens. At first, your accuser repeats the jab, louder this time. Then they add new details. Then they start scanning the room for backup. Why? Because silence is unbearable to the insecure. They wanted combat, and you gave them a mirror. Suddenly, they're the ones squirming under the spotlight. 6. Reframing. The coldest counter, Machiavelli's second weapon, was not defense, but reframing, turning the accusation into a blade against the attacker. Someone says, "You're manipulative." You reply, "Only people who can't be influenced say that." Someone says, "You're arrogant." You answer, "Confidence always bothers the insecure." You don't defend. You attack the frame, and now they scramble to explain themselves. 7. The public ambush. I once watched a CEO ambushed in a board meeting. A senior manager shot at him. "I think your strategy is reckless." The room froze, all eyes on the CEO. Did he defend? No. He leaned back, paused, and said calmly, "Interesting, tell us your strategy." The challenger stumbled. They weren't ready. They mumbled, backpedaled. Within minutes, the room saw the truth. The bold attack was nothing but empty bravado. The CEO didn't argue. He didn't even raise his voice. He let his opponent collapse under their own weight. 8. romantic and personal warfare. The same principle applies outside business, in love, in friendships. In everyday life, imagine your partner accuses you in anger. You don't care about me. Most people rush to defend. Of course I care. Look at what I do for you, and suddenly, they're on trial, the Machiavellian approach. Silence or a calm, piercing reframe. If I didn't care, you wouldn't be here arguing with me right now. Suddenly, the energy flips. The accuser feels the weight of their own words. You've turned their emotional strike into a weapon against them. This is how the dangerous operate. They don't rush to justify. They don't accept the frame. They either remain silent or they make the attacker collapse under their own logic. Power isn't in proving your innocence. Power isn't showing your untouchable. Power doesn't just live in boardrooms. It bleeds into relationships. Two accusations in love are emotional traps. Your partner snaps. You don't care about me anymore. Most men panic. They scramble to explain, to reassure, to list their sacrifices. They think they're calming the storm, but in reality, they've stepped into the frame. The Machiavellian response: pause, hold eye contact, then say, "That's not how I see it." No defense, no justification. Instantly, the weight shifts. They start questioning their own words, their own tone. You've seized control of the emotional tempo, and whoever controls the tempo controls the frame. 9. Disappear completely. The ultimate move is absence. No reply, no acknowledgement, no reaction to some. This is psychological warfare. They unravel because you didn't even deem them worthy of an answer. They try harder, they talk to others, they post, they rant, they beg for attention, and with every attempt, they look weaker, more desperate, more obsessed. Meanwhile, you remain untouched. You didn't win by proving anything. You won because they self-destructed, chasing a ghost. U10, the three tools of the Machiavellian operator. Silence. The default mode. Cold. Still, unbearable for the insecure. It makes others carry the weight of their own words. Deflection. Redirect the spotlight. Turn their challenge into a mirror. Force them to explain themselves until they collapse under their own logic. Precision cuts. Short, lethal phrases that end the exchange instantly. Phrases like, "Noted, think what you like." Strange how confidence makes some people uncomfortable. These aren't defenses, they're weapons. They don't protect your name. They assert your dominance. They don't clear the air. They remind the room that you control it. 11. Aura is greater than reputation. Stop clinging to the illusion of a good reputation. Good reputations are fragile. One rumor, one whisper, one enemy's lie can shatter them. A strong reputation doesn't rest on approval. It rests on aura. Aura is the force that lingers in silence. The feeling that follows you into every room. You may not always be liked. You may not always be trusted. But one thing is certain: no one dares to dismiss you. And that's the essence of it. Power doesn't come from defending yourself. Power comes from never needing to. When you move through life as if no accusation can touch you, people hesitate before moving against you. Why? Because you never look like a man scrambling to explain himself. 12. The crowd will defend you. Here's the paradox. The more you defend, the weaker and more isolated you appear. But when you stay calm, composed, silent, something fascinating happens. The crowd steps in. They start defending you for free. That was uncalled for. He didn't even respond and you're still going. Suddenly, you have an army at your back. What's stronger than defending yourself? Having an entire room rise to your defense while you sit in stillness. No words, no sweat, no effort. 13. The final stage. Presence. The highest level isn't silence, it's presence. A presence so solid, so unmoved, that accusations dissolve before they even reach you. You don't ignore them, they simply never stick. This is built by training yourself to never explain, never justify, never beg for validation. Over time, your existence itself becomes the defense. Your aura becomes the answer, and that's when you are truly untouchable. Machiavelli's law is timeless. The most dangerous man is not the one who attacks first. It's the one who never has to. When you stop defending, you stop living under the weight of other people's judgments. You define yourself, and the world is forced to adapt from this moment forward. No explanations, No justifications, only moves that tilt the power in your favor, because in the end, the man who never defends himself never needs to. Power is not about proving who you are. It's about making it impossible for anyone to reduce you. The weak man plays defense. He justifies. He explains. He kneels before every whisper, and in doing so, he confirms the very doubts cast against him. The dangerous man does none of this. He lets silence do the cutting. He lets mystery do the speaking. He lets presence do the crushing. His stillness isn't passivity, it's control. It's the kind of control that forces others to expose themselves, to reveal their insecurity, to crumble under the weight of their own attacks. This is why the man who never defends himself holds the highest ground. He cannot be baited, he cannot be cornered, he cannot be put on trial, because trials require participation, and he refuses to show up. And here lies the truth Machiavelli knew. Accusations only matter to the man who fears them. When you no longer fear, you no longer defend. When you no longer defend, you become untouchable. So remember, your reputation may rise and fall, but your aura, your presence, your silence, that is unbreakable. Do not explain. Do not justify. Do not kneel. Stand still. Let the words burn out on their own. And when the smoke clears, only one figure will remain. Calm, composed, untouchable. That is the final form of power, and that is where most men fail. They think words protect them. They think explanations build trust. They think defending themselves keeps their image intact. But defense is the posture of the desperate, and desperation is blood in the water. The predator knows better. He knows silence creates doubt, mystery, fear. He knows stillness can cut sharper than rage. He knows presence alone can end a battle before it begins. This is the Machiavellian law. The most dangerous man is not the loudest, not the first to strike, not the one who begs to be understood. The most dangerous man is the one who never needs to defend himself, because when you stop defending, the battlefield changes. Your accusers fight shadows. Your enemies waste themselves throwing punches at air, and the crowd begins to fight for you. They defend what you never had to. They shield the man who never lowered himself to answer. That is real power, not in being liked, not in being cleared of every rumor, not in chasing reputation, but in carrying an aura so unshakable that nothing sticks, and no attack lands from now on. Let others speak, let others accuse, let others try to pull you down into their small wars. You will not follow, you will not explain, you will not kneel. You will stand silent, composed, unmoved, and in that silence, the truth becomes undeniable. The man who never defends himself never needs to. The man who never defends himself. There is a moment in life you've felt before. The air shifts, the room tilts against you. Someone throws a jab, a sly insult disguised as humor, or a venom-laced accusation designed to pierce your armor in front of everyone else. Heads turn, eyes lock on you. The crowd leans in. They want to see what happens next. Your chest tightens, your pulse spikes. Instinct screams, say something, defend yourself. Explain that reflex is almost universal. It's how we're taught to survive from childhood. You're told to explain your side of the story, to correct the misunderstanding, to clear your name. But here's the cruel twist on the battlefield of power. That instinct is a trap, because the second you defend yourself, you've already surrendered. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that truth alone never decides outcomes. Perception does. And perception is shaped not by facts, but by frames. The moment you defend yourself, you step into someone else's frame. You kneel before your accuser. You acknowledge that they have the authority to put you on trial. Even if you win the argument, you lose the war, because the very act of defending makes you appear weak. That's the hidden law. Only the guilty explain. Only the insecure protest. Only the desperate rush to justify themselves. The powerful man does something else. He lets the accusation hang in the air like smoke. He watches calmly while the attacker chokes on their own words. He doesn't kneel, he doesn't explain, and he doesn't allow anyone else to define him. His silence is heavier than any denial. His presence speaks louder than any defense. Why? Defending yourself is always a trap. Think about it. When you're accused of something, what do you gain by defending yourself? You think you're clearing your name? You think you're restoring the truth? But power games are not about truth. They are about control over the frame. Here's how the trap works. Step 1. Someone accuses you. Step 2. You defend. Step 3. The conversation is no longer about their words. It's about your defense. They are no longer on trial. You are, even if you prove them wrong. The damage is done. The fact that you had to prove yourself lowers you in status because in the eyes of the crowd, the strong don't justify. The strong don't explain. The strong don't need to. Imagine a lion accused of being dangerous. Does it call a press conference? Does it explain to the antelope that it's misunderstood? No, it stares. That stare alone does the work. It plants a seed of fear deeper than any speech could. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "He who explains submits." The predator's silence power is not in words, it's in what words you choose not to. Say the apex predator doesn't validate prey with arguments he doesn't beg for, understanding he doesn't waste breath clarifying what should already be obvious. His silence cuts deeper than insults. Because silence creates space, and space is where fear grows. Picture this. You're in a business dinner. Someone sneers. "You always think you're the smartest guy in the room." Most men would chuckle nervously, or quickly protest, "No, that's not true. And in that moment, they collapse. Their frame dissolves, the Machiavellian move. Nothing to pause, a calm stare, no smile, no defense. Just presence. Suddenly the table starts wondering, why didn't he respond? Did the insult bounce off him? Does he know something we don't? The attacker shifts uncomfortably. Their attempt at humiliation flips back onto them without lifting a finger. You've reversed the frame. That's the kill shot. Mystery is power. Here's the truth. The more they understand you, the less they fear you. Every time you explain yourself, you strip away the aura. You give people too much clarity, too much access. They stop imagining. And the imagination is always more dangerous than reality. That's why the most powerful men in history, in politics, in business, and even in cinema are rarely the loudest. Think of Michael Corleone in The Godfather. His enemies shouted, argued, explained. He sat still. He watched. And when he finally acted, it was decisive. Silence made him terrifying. When you explain, you're predictable. When you don't, you're a question mark. And humans always overestimate the danger of a question mark. That is why mystery is power. The psychological torture of silence. Refuse to defend yourself and watch what happens. At first, your accuser repeats the jab louder this time, hoping you simply didn't hear them. When you still don't answer, they start adding new details, exaggerating, spinning the story further. And when that still doesn't draw you in, they start looking around the room for allies. Why? Because silence is unbearable to the insecure. They expected resistance. They wanted you to fight back. They wanted the thrill of a duel, a chance to prove themselves. Instead, you gave them a mirror, and there is nothing more torturous than watching yourself unravel with no one else to blame. The room watches. Too, they see the attacker sweating, escalating, flailing for control, and in their eyes, the tables have turned. The man who said nothing looks composed. The man who shouted looks unstable. That is the genius of silence. It shifts the spotlight. Without you moving an inch, Machiavelli would call this a bloodless victory. The opponent destroys themselves, and you keep your hands clean, reframing. The coldest counter-silence is the strongest weapon. But there are moments when precision is required. That's when you use the art of reframing, turning the accusation back onto the accuser, without ever lowering yourself into defense. Example, someone sneers, "You're manipulative." The weak response, "I'm not manipulative. The Machiavellian response, "Only people who can't be influenced say that." Suddenly, the accuser is on trial. They've revealed their own insecurity. Another example, someone says, "You're arrogant." The weak response, "I'm not arrogant, I'm just confident." The Machiavellian response, confidence tends to bother the insecure. Notice what's happening. You're not defending yourself. You're attacking the frame itself. You've refused the role of the accused and forced them to scramble. That's the difference between weakness and dominance. The weak try to justify. The strong make others justify themselves. The public ambush. Let's take it further. Imagine you're in a boardroom. A senior manager interrupts the meeting, declaring, "I think your strategy is reckless." The room goes silent. All eyes turn to you. Most leaders would lean forward, explaining their reasoning, outlining facts, defending their strategy. But not the Machiavellian leader. Instead, he leans back, he waits, then calmly says, "Interesting, tell us your strategy." The challenger stumbles. They weren't prepared for that. They expected a debate, not a reversal. They begin to mumble, scramble, lose their composure. Within minutes, the room sees the truth. Their bold attack was nothing but bravado. The leader never raised his voice. He didn't argue, he simply shifted the frame, forcing the attacker to choke on their own words. That's the art of the public ambush, not to fight, but to let the other side collapse under the weight of their own unpreparedness, romantic and personal warfare. This strategy extends beyond boardrooms. It shapes relationships. 2. Accusations in love are emotional traps. Your partner lashes out. "You don't care about me anymore." Most men panic. They scramble to prove their devotion, listing everything they've done, desperate to be understood. And in that instant, they step into the trap. They've accepted the frame. The Machiavellian approach: stillness, eye contact, then calmly, "That's not how I see it." No defense, no explanation, no desperate reassurance. Instantly, the tone shifts. The accuser now questions themselves. Did I go too far? Am I being unfair? You've seized control of the emotional tempo, and whoever controls the tempo controls the frame in personal life as in power. The man who never defends himself commands respect, disappearing completely. The ultimate move is not silence in the moment. It's disappearance altogether. Imagine someone throws venom your way, publicly, privately, online. Instead of firing back, you do nothing. No reply, no acknowledgement, no trace to some. This is unbearable. They expected noise, they expected drama, they expected a fight, but instead, they got emptiness, and emptiness drives them mad. So they escalate, they post more, they gossip louder, they drag others in, they try everything to provoke you, and every step makes them look weaker, more obsessed, more unhinged. Meanwhile, you remain untouchable. You didn't win by arguing. You won because they destroyed themselves, chasing a ghost. That's the paradox of absence. The less you do, the more desperate your enemies become. The 3 tools of the Machiavellian operator at this point. You might be asking, what weapons are left if you never defend yourself? The answer is simple. The Machiavellian operator carries 3 tools, and he rotates between them depending on the battlefield. 1. Silence. This is the default mode, cold, calm. Still, it forces your accuser to carry the weight of their own words. It's not passivity, it's pressure. Most people can't stand silence. They feel the need to fill it, to explain, to justify, to keep talking. Every word they add makes them look weaker, while your silence makes you look stronger. Deflection. When silence isn't enough, redirect the spotlight, shift the frame so that they, not you, become the one answering questions. Instead of "Why are you reckless?" it becomes "Interesting, and what would you do differently?" Now they're chasing their own tail, explaining themselves while you lean back and control 3 precision cuts. These are short, lethal phrases designed to end an exchange instantly. They're not explanations, they're verdicts. They leave no room for debate. Examples. Noted. Think what you like. Strange how confidence makes people uncomfortable. These are not shields, they are daggers. They don't protect you. They puncture the frame. They remind everyone in the room who holds the higher ground without you ever. Raising your voice. A man who masters these 3 tools becomes unassailable. He doesn't play defense, he plays control. Aura is better than reputation. Most people obsess over reputation. They want to be seen as good, trustworthy, likable, but reputations are fragile. One rumor, one lie, one whisper from the wrong mouth can shatter years of careful image building. If your power depends on reputation, you live at the mercy of others. Aura, on the other hand, is unbreakable. Aura is presence. Aura is what people feel when you enter the room. It doesn't matter what's whispered in corners. Your stillness, your composure, your mystery override the noise. Strong aura doesn't mean everyone likes you. It doesn't even mean everyone trusts you. What it does mean is this: no one dismisses you, no one dares move against you lightly. Because aura isn't about approval, it's about Command Machiavelli knew this well. Princes rose and fell not on whether they were liked, but on whether they were feared, respected, and untouchable. A man with aura doesn't beg for approval. He doesn't defend his name. He carries himself in such a way that accusations evaporate before they land. The crowd will defend you. Here's the paradox. The more you defend yourself, the more isolated you look. You seem desperate, scrambling alone, but if you remain calm, composed, silent, something fascinating happens. The crowd begins to defend you for free. Someone speaks up. That was uncalled for. Another chimes in. He didn't even respond, and you're still going. Without lifting a finger, you now have an army at your back. Your silence drew them in. Your restraint gave them permission to step up. And the beauty is this: their defense carries more weight than yours ever could. People expect you to defend yourself. They don't expect others to do it for you. What's stronger than proving yourself innocent? Having an entire room insist on your innocence while you sit back, untouched. That is the hidden advantage of refusing to explain. Your calm presence inspires others to do the talking while you conserve your energy for more important battles, the final stage. Presence. The highest level is not silence, it is not deflection, it is not even the precision cut. The highest level is presence. Presence is when your aura is so unshakable, so unmoved, that accusations dissolve before they even take form. People don't even bother challenging you, because they know it won't stick. You've trained yourself so completely to never explain, never justify, never beg for validation that your existence itself becomes the defense. This is the point where you become untouchable. You no longer need tactics. You no longer need clever phrases. You don't even need silence, because silence is a strategy against attacks. But when you've reached presence, attacks never land. Machiavelli's law comes full circle here. The most dangerous man is not the one who attacks first. It is the one who never needs to. When you stop defending yourself, you stop living under the judgments of others. You define yourself, and the world adapts to that definition.